Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. My name is Brandon Bornancin, a serial salesperson and entrepreneur, and I'm sitting down with the world's best sales experts to share their top secrets to sales success. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I am thrilled, honored, humbled, and grateful to have with me today my new friend, Brandon Roberts. Brandon is the Senior Director of Sales Ops at MindBody, Inc. And as many of you have known, MindBody has transformed from a $30 million company to $250 million with the help of Brandon's leadership. And like all of you, I want to know how he did it, even to a successful IPO in June of 2015. As a former professional baseball player with the Cincinnati Reds, the Minnesota Twins, the Rockies, he's been able to take his highly competitive elite athlete career and harness that energy and that experience into highly effective sales. He's earned President's Club honors and more recently was a big Dreamforce presenter in 2018, leading sales ops for over 300 sales team members. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's nice to meet another Brandon as well.
Yeah, hey, two Brandons don't make a right, okay? Well, look, Brandon, we're thrilled to have you on the show. And the audience, they've been writing in, they've been chatting, they've been emailing, texting, video, all of this jazz. And everyone's dying to know, this professional athlete turned sales expert, what is your top sales secret to sales success? If you had to start back in sales, if you hired someone, if you had to do it all over again, what would be the one secret that you would leverage to maximize growth, to maximize revenue, to maximize your income? But before we get there, let's take a step back. Tell, the audience is also dying to know, who's Brandon Roberts? Where'd you come from? How'd you get started with professional baseball, which I don't typically get to drop on these interviews, and then go into sales and we'd love to just learn more about you and everything that you've learned along the way, the successes, the failures, the secrets that helped you level up to taking MindBody to, almost a 10x increase in revenue to IPO. So with that,
Absolutely.
Brandon, man, walk us through the background.
Yeah. So my whole life has been all around baseball. So I loved baseball since I was a little kid. My childhood dream was to play in the big leagues, to be a household name. Played in high school, played in college. I went to the local college here, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And then I was drafted when I was 20 years old.
Dude, when you were playing, just curious, I got to know this. When you were playing in high school and college, were you a natural born athlete?
I was not. The only thing I had on me was I was able to run fast, but I was small. I didn't get any looks really from any D1 schools out of high school. I did actually have to spend 1 year playing in junior college because I didn't get any looks out of high school. And so I just worked and worked and worked. And so it wasn't really natural for me.
So it was a lot of hustle, hard work. Was that everyday grind of
everyday grind, everyday practice, everyday mindset, you name it, just continuing to grow.
Wow. So you were able to play you were not average, but not great. And then you trained to become kind of a killer high school athlete and then went to college and did the same thing. In college, were you the top of the top, or did you have to train and hustle too when you got there?
So I would say it was just incremental growth. It was just every year was just incremental growth of, I guess going from average to above average to the player that, the Cincinnati Reds were going to draft in the 7th round in 2005. Wow. And so I was 20 years old at the time there. So they saw some potential in me and some good results from college ball. And so that's where it took over.
Okay. So the secret then to getting drafted by the Cincinnati Reds and the Colorado Rockies, would the secret be what's the secret then that led you from high school ball to getting drafted?
So it was taking a mindset of continual improvement, no matter what. So
love that.
In baseball, if you get a hit 3 times out of 10, you're hitting 300 and you're successful and you're on the all-star team and you're moving up. But that means you're failing 7 out of 10 times. You're getting out 7 out of 10 times. So it's controlling your mind. It's understanding that every single at-bat you take and every single practice that you go through, it is just a continual build of your skill sets and of your ability to perform in that sport.
Man, it sounds, you know, what's interesting is like, it feels like there's so many parallels with like what you just talked about with baseball, the same with sales. I feel like failure with sales could be even higher because you get to hit 3 out of 10 sales. You may get like 5%, you know?
Right. Yeah. 1 out of 10 probably.
Oh man. So, okay. That's incredible. So you get drafted for the Cincinnati Reds. Like, walk us through that experience of like playing professional ball.
Playing professional ball was an amazing experience. Like I said, I was 20 years old. My first short season, I went to Montana. I ended up playing in Florida for a couple years, Connecticut, upstate New York. Ended my career with the Rockies in AAA ball, which was in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So a lot of travel, a lot of just kind of being alone with just your team, you know, away from family and everything like that. And basically all you do is play baseball every single night. And so you come to the ballpark early, you practice for X number of hours every single day, and then you play that night. And you only get about 2 off days a month, really, to relax. So it's all just practice, and then you perform every single night.
Dude, I love that because I get a lot of praise and a lot of, I don't know what you call, feedback, negative feedback, criticism, because I love working 7 days a week. And I try to like follow athletes like yourself, like the best of the best athletes. And they're just always grinding. They're always practicing. They're always training. They're always working like every day. How do you stay so motivated and consistent to do that? And how do you avoid burnout? And like, I don't know, I feel like that's hard to do.
Yeah, you definitely go through waves of, burnout or, I'm not going to get to the field as early this time. And you go back and forth on that. And really the players that separate themselves and move up to the next levels are the players that are there early, day in, day out, doing whatever they possibly can, whether it's additional reads on defense or additional sprints, or they're hitting the gym, or they're doing some extra, batting practice in the cages. Those are the ones that really separate from the teammates and move on to the next level.
This is what I try to tell people to apply in sales. I would say like 90% of the sales community I talk to thinks I'm crazy. But I feel like it's the same thing, dude. Sales is a sport, right? Which, I know you and I like get along with well. I'm excited for you to talk more about that. So you crush it in Cincinnati. You get to go to Fort Myers, Minnesota. I love that area. That's incredible. Yeah. And, you had a successful 6-7 year stint, playing professional ball, which is amazing. Yeah. What were like the biggest successes, failures, secrets that you learned from, playing for 3 different professional teams?
Yeah. So what I learned was I learned a couple things. So I learned about confidence and how you can actually choose to be confident, and you can trick your mind into being confident no matter what. And that's one of the really important things that baseball players have to have, because you fail so often that you just have to have, it's almost false confidence. You go up there and you're like, I'm the best hitter in the world, is what you're thinking in your head, just so you can have positive mental imagery around being successful. And that's where it's going to set you up. When you start getting in slumps, and people talk a lot about slumps in baseball and how Derek Jeter one year started off the year 0 for 36 or something like that. I mean, that just gets in your head. And then you're thinking, wow, I'm never going to get a hit. And your confidence goes down, and then it leads to just less success. And so it's keeping your mindset fully confident as much as possible. The other thing I learned was I was able to see so many different teams and managers. And I was able to see, and I didn't actually learn this while I was playing, but I've done a ton of reflection back to some of the teams that I was on and some of the teams that I've learned now that I was in sales leadership and I'm leading a team of sales ops professionals now. and I can distinctly see what some of the coaches did on the successful teams that set them apart, and what some of the coaches did on the failing teams that I was on, and what kind of approach they took. And basically like a Homer Simpson, where I say, all right, well, that's what not to do,
Yep.
as I'm running teams moving forward.
So it sounds like some of the failures or the challenges that you ran into with, and I like to call them challenges instead of failures, but the challenges that you ran into, like with management, taught you what not to do when you're leading sales ops at MindBody, and how to be different than that. What were some of the things like not to do?
Oh yeah. So I remember being on a team, we were last place, and I didn't even, like I said, I don't realize it at the time, but in hindsight, I look back and the coach was negative. The coach was, throwing chairs in the locker room. Like you probably, hear that story that may or may not be real. Condescending to people, not showing appreciation, not giving positive feedback, only negative feedback. I remember one day he said, well, Brandon, how can I put you in the lineup? You can't hit, you can't throw, you can't run. I'm like, oh, okay. That's not really boosting confidence in me and helping me be a player. So things like that, are things that I absolutely avoid as a leader now.
That's awesome. So you bring so it sounds like the opposite, like bring a positive mindset, whatever it takes mindset, and bring your team up, especially at times where you're going to battle and it's a challenge or you're downhill.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Building a culture of teamwork, collaboration, positivity, optimism, no matter what. And, just growing that and making sure everybody else, and just having the clubhouse. People talk about the clubhouse is toxic. That's the same thing with a sales floor, for example. If you have some toxic environment, that's going to spread, or somebody that's negative, that's going to spread. And so we want to, cut that down as fast as we possibly can so that we can have a positive, optimistic environment that we can thrive in.
Oh, that's amazing. So you learn a lot being a professional baseball player at Cincinnati Reds, the Twins, the Rockies. So then your career kind of, you're looking to transition out of baseball. Were you like, okay, I'm going to do either, like, did you always know you wanted to go into sales? Like, how'd you get into sales? I'm curious, like, what did you look at?
Funny story. Yeah. So I was battling some injuries in the last couple of years in my career. So I knew that it was potentially coming to an end. Like I said, I was drafted when I was 20. So I went back to college every single offseason because the way Cal Poly worked out, it was perfect for me to do one quarter of school and then go play professional baseball. So I ended up being like 26 years old in a class of general ed English, at college or whatever at one point. And so then my last off season.
Was that hard for you to do, by the way? Like when you were there doing that, was it hard or was it just like whatever it takes? Like what was your mindset going through that experience?
It was tough. Surprisingly, the toughest part was to get back enrolled in the school, because if you miss 3/4 of school, they kick you out. And then you have to go through this extensive admissions process again. And so I made best friends with the department head in my the kinesiology department that I was in at the time, saying, look, I'm coming back every single year. So can we just speed this process up, or what do we need to do? I had to lean on my coach and have him pull some strings. I mean, it was painful, but it was great. And I knew that if I didn't do it in those off seasons, and I had an opportunity, in the baseball off season where you're not doing anything for 5 months, I had that opportunity. I really wanted to take advantage of it. So I didn't end up working out.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And, during the off season, were you training a lot still or no?
Yep. So I would go, depending on my schedule, I would train. I think I would train in the afternoon. So I would go to school in the morning. I would set up my schedule to do school all morning, and then I would train all afternoon for the whole off season.
So you're a guy that's just every day training, getting better, improving, and executing.
That's right. That's what I try to do. I'm thinking about the long term, and everything is a build, right? Everything every day is just building to that long term and just acquiring new skills and getting better and developing mastery and just going. So that's the mindset that I like to take.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, that's like the whole premise of this book. Like everywhere you work or everywhere you're at, like you learn the things that you need to level up and improve and go to the next level. And you were saying, so it was a funny story. You were going back to school, mm-hmm. and then what happened? They finally let you in, right? And you were able to do that.
Finally graduated at Cal Poly after, I think I tell people now it took me 9 years to graduate at Cal Poly, and they think, oh, that's interesting, but they don't realize I have that.
That you played pro ball for 7 years.
Yeah. And so I knew that I was done with that. And so I wanted to basically find a part-time job doing something. And I was thinking, all right, well, what is this? Is this, working at a real estate office, or is this doing whatever? I don't know. And then I ran into a mutual friend that was a sales associate manager at MindBody. And sales associate manager is basically the SDR manager, but it was a part-time role for, mainly kids that were in college at the time, really just doing the low-level activities of the sales department with prospecting and so forth. And I said, well, I only have 5 months. Would you hire me for 5 months just to come in and blast cold calls? And he was like, absolutely, you're hired, please.
That's awesome.
And so basically after that year, I think I was in Rochester that year playing with the Twins. I signed a free agent deal with the Rockies the next year. So I knew I was leaving in March. So then I came back to San Luis Obispo, started at MindBody, was a part-time sales associate for about 5 months. And meanwhile, I was working out. I was doing the same thing. I was working out. I think I was working out in the morning there, doing my hitting, doing my running, doing my throwing. And then I would go to the office and just blast cold calls for 4 hours for the rest of the day. And it was interesting. And that's really where I started to find out that sales is exactly the same as baseball, because it's repetition, it's practice, and it's not being afraid of getting rejected and getting out or getting a no on the phone. And I ended up being a really successful sales associate part-time. And so then I knew when my career was over that I had found a home.
Wow. So baseball is like sales. And when you say the repetition of like the calling, the prospecting, the emailing, the social selling, and that's relative to playing pro ball, like, or what other factors of the repetition were you thinking?
So the other thing that I realized when I started the sales role is that nobody was practicing. Everybody was performing. And
so they were executing versus training.
You got it. And their mindset was that they were going through the motion because they had their pitch and they were just going through the motion. And what I realized quickly is that every call is a practice call, regardless of if it's a real call or not. So no matter if this is a real call, and I even took this into when I went into being an account executive for them, every single call that you have, you need to just take a mindset of practice, and then you need to evaluate, and then you need to adapt afterwards and improve. Every single call needs to improve no matter what. So what they were doing is they did a little bit of training and, okay, here's how you learn, and you do a little bit of practice session, and then you just go into just fully in the motion, going through the motion and not really thinking of it as improving every single call that they had. And so that's one thing that I picked up on. I said, wait a minute, in baseball, we practice like 90% of the time, and then we go and we have 5 at-bats in the game. I've probably taken tens of thousands of swings in my life, and then you go play the game and you only get maybe 4 or 5 at-bats. And so it was reverse in sales because they did a little bit of practicing up front and then boom, okay, now I'm a salesperson and I know how to cold call and I'm just going for it. But if they transform their mind and say, wait a minute, every call I just need to learn from, I just need to pretend like this is a practice call, then I'm going to learn from it and then I'm going to be able to adapt from there.
I love that mindset. So you said like in practice, you're doing 20,000 hits, 80, 90% of the time is the training, 10% of the time is the execution. It's funny that you mentioned that because like, I feel like sales, right when you get hired, they give you the scripts, you may role play a little bit. And most organizations, that's when they put you in, all you do is execute. Mm-hmm. I love studying pro athletes. And I'm always like, how can I become the GOAT of sales? How can I become and learn from LeBron James, Brandon Roberts, Tom Brady, Wow. And I'm like, that's what I noticed. That was one of the biggest things that I recognized was like, Tom Brady watches film more than he does anything in his life. Like, I'm like, why is he training and watching that film and practicing so often? Like,
Yeah, how weird would it be? So think of an athlete, they finish a season, and I'm baseball, so I'll use baseball, and they hit 300 on the season, which is a great season. And then they say, all right, 300, that's great. I'm good. I'm not going to practice next year. I mean, you just don't see that. You don't see that. You don't see Tom Brady. How many championships does he have? Like, oh, that's enough championships. I'm good. I don't have to practice anymore. It's just weird.
I'm good. I'll be good. Yeah. And then you also run into the salespeople, right? That don't want to learn new technologies, that don't want to learn new strategies. Like, dude, this is a new play in the game of baseball that you can leverage to win the game. Why wouldn't you want to learn those things?
Right. Yeah.
How do you instill the like, how do we translate the training for baseball to the training for sales?
So I think that what I used to do when I was a sales manager is I instituted practice sessions early on because I knew we had to practice. And salespeople don't necessarily like getting off the phone and going somewhere else and spending an hour away from their productivity to practice. And so then I realized, well, wait a second, you are practicing with your real calls. You just need to change your mind and tweak your mind to say, all right, the success criteria for this next sales demo that I'm going to do is, number one, I'm going to practice. Number two, I'm going to learn something from it. I'm going to, evaluate how it went, and I'm going to adapt moving forward. That's my success criteria. The success criteria isn't making the sale, because this is one sale out of thousands that I'm going to have in my career. If I took every single call like that and just tried to build, like you're building a stair step or you're building, a Coliseum or whatever, you're how much more mastery are you going to create in your career if you have that mindset every single time?
Wow. So then you're saying, like, your reps and the way that you were managing, you would recommend, just let me know if I got this right. So you recommend, instead of like going out wherever and you're just trying to do something, like study the calls that you're executing and like review them and do like a post-mortem, what you did well, what you could have improved type of thing?
Yep, you got it. So I think there's a time and place for both. But the people that didn't want to spend an hour every single week practicing because they've been a sales rep in this role for 4 years, fine. That's okay. I understand that. But just take every call as a practice call and get better from it.
What do you do with the people that how do you coach those people up to realize the importance of that if they're kind of stubborn or feel like they're good?
So it's about building a culture of practice, because your team members really follow the culture, because that's where your belief systems are and that's what the experiences that people have. And so it's not about really focusing on the one person that's not necessarily doing it. It's making sure that you're fostering a culture of practice so that everybody is practicing and all of the sales managers know that this is embedded in our culture and this is what we believe and this is what we do and this is how we operate. This is what we do. And so it's really more about building the culture holistically, and then people will come along.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. So, you're at MindBody, you got the gig, and then you started, I assume you started crushing it, and then they offered you a full-time job?
So I was part-time at MindBody.
And for the audience, what is MindBody? I know what it is, but I forgot. The audience probably may have no idea.
So MindBody is a business management software for health, fitness, and beauty industries. So think of a gym or a boutique fitness studio or a salon, and we basically manage their business for them, from their schedule, online booking, payments, payroll, everything like that. And there's even a consumer app that people can download, and it's almost like a finder. You can go on there, you can see intro offers and dynamic pricing, and book your next yoga class or whatever the case may be. So it's an amazing product.
Yeah, it sounds like a CRM on steroids for the gyms and the fitness places to do everything, not just CRM. And then what's cool, guys, I've used MindBody. It's really awesome. You could go in any city, anywhere, and find, like, if you want to box, if you want to do yoga, if you want to go to the gym, they've got it all figured out because the whole world's already on it. So, so you were doing it part-time at MindBody, and you were prospecting like the gyms, the yoga studios, like, so these are they mainly SMBs or are they enterprise?
SMBs. Yeah. At that point.
And
so
go ahead.
The only, the enterprise are basically the franchisees, the franchisors. So those types of businesses as well. But yeah, in that sales associate role, I was calling, at the time that I was calling personal trainers, I was calling martial arts studios or kickboxing studios.
Wow.
So that those types of business owners is who I was talking to. And so they knew that I was going to leave and go back and play or go back to spring training in March because I had already signed with the Colorado Rockies. And so that was just, they knew I had an end date to that. Started with the Rockies. I wanted to give it one more go with my baseball career. Ended up with an injury on day 1 or day 2 of the season. Missed about a month or a month and a half. And I just kind of knew from there, based on the way the season was going, that was probably my last straw. And so when the season ended, I came back as a sales rep or an account executive at MindBody. Started right when the season ended.
Wow. So sorry to hear about the injury, but it sounds like everything works out. What was, is there a takeaway with that? Like, is there a secret or something that you learned from that opportunity at the Rockies going to MindBody that you could share with the audience? Maybe not, but figured I'd ask.
Yeah, I would say, with any injury in sports, it's a mental game as well. Nothing is more depressing than starting a season and knowing that you have these ambitious goals and I'm going to, do really well in AAA and then I'm going to get called up to the big leagues. And those are your aspirations. And then boom, something happens where you get taken off the field for a month or a month and a half. And so imagine what your mind does when you're sitting in the training room or you have to go back to Arizona at their spring training facility and recuperate. And it's growth for mental strength, just to stay on it and to go to the training room every single day and make sure that you get better as fast as possible so you can get back on the field. So
that probably taught you a lot about like just big personal challenges and overcoming these massive hurdles and then having the perseverance and tenacity to not quit right as you go.
That's
like
right.
Just keep trying to get better. If not, keep trying to get better and then get to the next thing. And it sounds like you couldn't overcome the injury, but you use that as an opportunity to get back into sales.
Yeah, I think that applies to anything. I mean, if you're, going for a job interview and you don't get it, for example, I mean, it's that mental toughness of, but guess what? I'm going to go for another one, or I'm going to do this better next time, or I'm going to make sure that I apply myself in this way. And so it's understanding that failure or adversity is really just a continual build as well. It's developing your mental strength and some of your skill sets and your abilities, and everything's building for the future. Can't hear you.
So let's talk about, you leave the Rockies because of the injury and you join MindBody as an account executive. Like, were you pretty excited about that? Or were you like, man, I had these hopes and dreams about the baseball thing, but I'll do this again because I enjoyed it. Like,
it was incredibly hard. Incredibly hard. I mean, I went from playing every single night in front of give or take 10,000 people on a baseball field and just going to the field and practicing to, sitting at a desk 9 to 5, picking up the phone.
Wow.
And at the time, I was also, life transitions. I was about to get married as well. And then I bought my first house and it's just, you name it, a lot of change at that time. And so it was a major life transition for me. So it was pretty tough.
And then what'd you do to fight through it?
So
so you were about to get married. So your wife's probably like, was your fiance or wife at the time like, you gotta just figure this out? Or were you like, hey, I'm going to have to figure this out?
I had to make money, right? So, I mean, I needed to come up with a job where I can actually support now a family that I was going to have. So I knew that I had to plug through. I knew I had to, just put my head down and just go. And there were so many days in the first month where I'm thinking, what in the world? Why am I selling software? Going from traveling, playing baseball, doing nothing, and to that was very tough. And I know some baseball players that actually go through this transition have such a hard time just transitioning from that world to the new world. And I try to reach out and help them as much as I possibly can.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like, you were able to fight through it, and you go from like, okay, software sales specialist to manager, North American sales manager, and then North American sales director. And like, by the way, guys, like I know a lot about Brandon, like he's getting these quick promotions, and he keeps moving up and up and up. And now he leads, as the senior director of sales ops over at MindBody. So like, it sounds like all of those things that you learned and that you went through and the struggles and tribulations, you were able to apply to grow MindBody, to help grow in your career, and then also grow this company from 30 million to 250 million.
Yeah. Well, there was, so when I ended my career in Colorado Springs, the way it works is you basically just drive home. So I was in my 2001 Chevy Tahoe driving from Colorado Springs to San Luis Obispo, an 18-hour drive through deserts. Literally through New Mexico, Arizona, through deserts. And I got really emotional, because that was the end of it. My childhood dream was to make it to the big leagues. Yes, I was, had a few years where I was injured, but ultimately when I was reflecting on my career, I was disappointed, and I knew that I didn't take advantage of opportunities. I knew I didn't work as hard as I could have. I should have been in the video room looking at my swing. I should have done more batting practice. I wasn't the first guy at the field. Other people were there before me. And so that was a big moment of reflection. And I thought in that moment, I said, I'm never going to be in this position where I have to look back and say that I didn't seize my opportunities. I didn't give it my all. I got to a point where I thought I was good enough and sat back, and I just took on a different mindset. And I said, whatever else I'm going for in my life now, I'm always going to get better. I'm always going to practice. I'm always going to grow. No matter what, I'm going to take advantage of opportunities. And, I feel like for the past 7 or 8 years, I've been able to maintain that mindset from that moment, from that 18-hour drive, from my baseball career into the new career that I was embarking on in my life.
Wow. That is so deep. I mean, I'm just like thinking of like, I'm so scared of death. And like, I just keep thinking like tomorrow I could die, and I just want to like make sure I give it my all to accomplish my goals and dreams. And what you just said is like my biggest concern with like building my company or being in sales. Like, I don't want to go do that, because I've been in that, me and the tens of thousands of salespeople that are listening and watching this have done that. And, it's tough to think about it, and you probably don't think about it until it's over. Like you said,
yeah.
You didn't think about those things until it was over. But the best part is it happened to you, and then you learned that and you applied it to your sales career. So how do you take that experience of like, you're never not going to be the first one on the field. You're never not going to be not giving it your all, looking at the film, improving, training ever again. Because you went through that experience. I went through that experience. What did you apply and change now at MindBody? So you leave in Colorado, you get into MindBody. What did you change, and how'd you do it?
Yeah. So like I said, it was a tough transition, but throughout that period, it was really when I started realizing how many similarities there were from what I learned. And so I realized, wait a second, that last 7 years of my life wasn't wasted because it was, not learning sales, now that I'm in sales. It actually can apply so nicely and so perfectly into this. And so once I started evolving and understanding that, it really was around daily habits, establishing daily habits.
And is this your secret?
My secret is yes, is having a mindset of continual practice. Everything you just need to think of as practice. Everything is practice no matter what. And it's always just building your skill sets, building your mastery in that area so that you can advance and so that you can be where you want to be long-term career in your life. And so whatever it is, even if it's I'm doing a one-on-one with my employee, I want to view this as practice so that I can have the most effective one-on-ones as I possibly can, or a team meeting. All right, I'm practicing this team meeting. I'm going to practice it. I'm going to, look at it afterwards. I'm going to say, how effective was that meeting? Did I motivate people? Did I hit on the points? Presentations, when you're in there with the C-suite, how is my executive presence? Let's practice my executive presence today in the C-suite. Interviews. I mean, if you think about it, if somebody wants to go for a job, let's say they're in a role for 4 years, and then they want to go for a new role. And so they're looking online and they see, all right, here's a job that I love, my dream job, perfect, I'm going to go for it. And then they're going to interview. That's the only interview they've done in the past 4 years. They're not going to be good at it. They didn't practice anything. They haven't grown at it. And so every single thing you do, just pretend that it's practice and just continually learn from it no matter what.
Wow. And you said, so the sales secret from the top 1%, from Brandon Roberts, former professional baseball player, athlete turned sales ops game changer, practice and turn everything that you do into an opportunity to practice and improve. And I think you were on to something big as part of this, which was like the daily routine, daily improvements. Mm-hmm. Can you share a little bit about that?
So it's a daily reminder that you're practicing. I use a daily planner. It's actually called the Panda Planner. And I heard
that's good, by the way. I literally was on the phone with my book agent yesterday, and I told him I'm launching a planner, and he said the Panda Planner is awesome.
Yeah. And, I've gone through a couple of them. It seems like they're all named animals for some reason. But the reason I like this one is because it's got a section that forces you to write 3 things you're grateful for. And obviously that's proven to, make you more optimistic and positive, and you're more productive. Things that you're excited about. And then it gives you a couple other sections. What's your focus for the day? Did you exercise? And then affirmation. And what I write every day in the affirmation, instead of affirming or like building confidence, I say, I'm going to have a growth mindset. I'm going to practice today. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to make sure that I'm continually improving, because I hate having a monthly recap where you look back and you're like, what did I learn? Or what did I get better at? Or what did I improve? And there's always things that you can say in there, but sometimes I'm thinking, man, is that all I got better at, or is that all I learned? And so it's really a daily habit to make sure that whatever meetings you have or whatever experiences you're about to have, you're practicing, you're building yourself, and you're building for the future.
Wow. Well, if I create a planner, we're going to have to create one together. I'll bring you in on it, because the Brandon Planner, I love tracking like the daily habits and the daily KPIs. So do you track, like, to hit your long-term goals? Are you tracking like, what I need to do every day? Like, and then how did you perform against that? Like, what type of goals, do you tie to your daily habits and daily improvements that you have to make? Like, where's a good place to start for the audience to start doing this? Yeah. And how do you hold yourself accountable?
Yeah. So when I was running sales teams, we definitely had our daily chart, and it would basically the daily activities, the daily phone calls, the daily this, the daily that. And I would make sure that it wasn't just activities. It was, what situations did you have that you were able to practice or that you were able to learn from? And so now in operations, it's less daily with our teams where we're doing reviews. We're doing weekly reviews, just because it's a little different. But yeah, me on a personal level, I am continually writing down my priorities, what I'm learning, what I'm focused on, and what I want to grow in.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what, just curious, what are you focused on? What's on the list?
So right now, I think that I'm working on executive presence. That's something that I've researched. And another thing that I like to do is, when I get a piece of material that I like, I turn it into my own like presentation, because when you teach something, you retain it much better than when you just actually learn it from a book or whatever.
Yep.
And so basically I mapped them out. And so any situation that I have, I'm in a lot of, being in sales operations, I'm in a lot of meetings with C-suites and with, higher ups and executives. And I practice my executive presence, which is poise and projection and passion and really those types of things in those meetings. So I can walk into a meeting and, practice that. And then I walk out and think, did I really have a presence in there? Or did I really articulate my passion? And, just the more experiences and the more repetition, just like taking batting practice. You take one swing, boom, okay. And you get immediate feedback from it. Well, was that a good hit or a bad hit? Oh, that was a bad hit. Okay. Try it again. So that's really something I'm focused on at the moment.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm sure you'll nail it, because you won't stop practicing until you get that down. Like,
I won't even stop then.
Yeah. Wow, man. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. You lay these out, you measure, how'd you do every day. You have to have that mindset of gratitude, the daily goals, daily activity, practice. Every scenario you have to use as practice. And is there any secret, like, I don't get to talk to a lot of sales ops leaders that took a company from 30 million to 250 million. Me personally, I run a sales tech software startup. I want to take to $1 billion in revenue, and I don't know how to do it. And I'm totally cool with that. And there's a lot of salespeople out there who are trying to build 50 million, 100 million, 250, 500 billion dollar companies, in sales ops, sales AEs, sales leadership, inside sales, sales development. What were some of the big secrets or things that you learned that helped you profitably scale this company from 30 to 250 and publicly traded? That's a huge feat. We didn't focus a lot on that for this interview, but while we just have a few more minutes, you probably had to have gone through so much crazy shit throughout that whole journey.
A lot of change. Yeah. A lot of change through all that growth. And so remember, for most of that time I was running sales teams. And then as I got to the director of sales development is when I kind of slow rolled into operations, because, they added operational things, to my responsibilities at the time. And so what I think for sales ops teams, what helps me in this role is the fact that I was a sales rep, I was a cold caller, I was a sales leader. And so I can empathize with exactly what they're going on. And so one thing that I actually want to improve and make sure that I'm continually doing is getting buy-in and getting feedback from the front lines as much as possible. When we're doing things to the system, or we're putting playbooks together, or we're driving efficiencies and effectiveness, we want to make sure that we have buy-in when we launch that. And the only way to establish buy-in is for them to actually provide that feedback, and for them to feel like they're the ones, recommending that change or whatever, operational adjustment that we need to make to the go-to-market strategy. So it's really having insight and empathizing with the salespeople and what it's like to be a salesperson, and then making sure that they have that feedback loop and they're basically bought in to those changes.
Was it hard for you to create that empathy, or it was easier because you were in their shoes, it sounds like?
Yeah. So I think that definitely easier because I went through it and I knew exactly what it was like to, as a salesperson, for example, to be more efficient by not putting in the right data, because you have your speed and you can get through these leads super fast if you don't put in zip code, or I don't know, whatever the example is. And so understanding that as an operational leader, knowing, okay, I get it. It's faster for you to do this. Well, how can we work together, and what real strategies can we put in place that'll be most effective for both of us?
Wow. Yeah. And so the empathy and moving into the sales ops, what were some other big things that you think, like strategies or secrets, that helped you really become, MindBody's everywhere. You guys have just dominated the market. Great product plus great execution, obviously, and great team and culture. From a SaaS sales perspective, were there any other big takeaways of like, hey, we went and prospected appointments this way, which was different. Hey, we pitched it this way, which was different, and that had a pivotal increase in revenue. Like any specific tangibles that you can share on the actual sales side of things?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that a little bit differently, because I think this is one of the main differentiators for MindBody. It's alignment with our overall purpose and the passion that our company has. I mean, we just have incredibly passionate people that are working at MindBody, and it's because of some of the things that MindBody does. I mean, we give out massive amounts of wellness vouchers. I mean, we basically force people to be healthy themselves, as employees. It's like, you have to work on yourself and be mentally fit and whatever aspect of the 7 dimensions of wellness, you gotta really embrace that. And I mean, it's like that's one of our core values. And so we're attractive as a company because of that. And people are just so passionate about our overall purpose as a company and connecting the wellness to the world, that they're willing to go the extra mile, and they're willing to put in that work and put in that repetition and continually practice, because they have that ultimate purpose, as a foundation.
Yeah, so it sounds like getting the whole sales team aligned on the company purpose, and then but also personally, not only maximizing the success of the company and the success of the customers, but trying to maximize and improve the success of the team members. Yeah. And because you invest and care and want to help them succeed, it sounds like they'll love going to work. They'll be the baseball player that wants to show up to the plate versus the guy that works for that old manager you had that told you can't hit worth a damn. Like, who do you want to work for? You're going to want to work for the guy that said, hey, that was a tough fall, but next time you're up there, you're going to crush it. Don't worry about it. We got this.
It's so much more fulfilling to chase the journey and to continually improve, and to have a manager that really is taking the same philosophy and investing in you and building you up. And so it's very effective.
Wow. So Brandon, the secrets, we've gone over a lot, and I truly appreciate you. Practice every day. Turn everything into practice, whether it's prospecting, cold calling, emailing, social selling, pitching, follow-up, closing, account management, culture, team collaboration, role-playing. Practice every day and try to improve. Daily improvements, it sounds like, critical. Focus on the day-to-day improvements. Hold yourself accountable, to actually try to practice and try to improve. And, this last one, which was, empathy. Make sure that you develop empathy in sales. You work with the team to get buy-in feedback. And, that way everyone's on board. And then the last one, take care of the people.
That's
because
right.
if you take care of your people, they're going to take care of you, the team, the customer. And you got to have a big mission, and you actually have to give a damn about the team. Wow. This was incredible. Brandon Roberts, thank you so much. Where can people find you, follow you, connect with you for more?
So I'm on LinkedIn right now. I was actually, that's funny you asked. I was thinking about starting a blog, and I've got a few drafts in the works. So hopefully that'll come soon.
Awesome. It's because I'm a brand new author. Just like you told me daily, all the top authors in the world told me the number one thing, write daily.
I love it.
Everything you do takes daily. Like, this is why I love this guy. This is why I love this secret. Everything great in life takes day in and day out hard work.
Yeah.
So many people underestimate that. And you're a guy that just exuded that day in and day out, hard work, consistency every day for years playing baseball, years in sales. It's incredible. So you're launching a blog. Have you thought of a domain name yet?
Don't have it yet. But awesome. I will share that with you.
So in the meantime, audience, we're all going to follow Brandon Roberts. He's well known on LinkedIn. Follow him up on LinkedIn. And for those tuning in, make sure you connect, follow, subscribe to Brandon's updates. Senior Director of Sales Ops at MindBody. Transform the company. And thank you, audience. Thank you, Brandon, for tuning in to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Buy the book at secretsalesbook.com. You'll get a copy of Brandon's chapter at secretsalesbook.com. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. We release new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to never miss an episode.